Did The Simpsons predict the end of the world? It's impossible to say since the world is by no means over, but let's take a look at some of the messaging within Season 9, Episode 4 and see what we can find. In the 8th installment of Treehouse of Terror, Homer finds himself as the last human on Earth after a massive nuclear war. And there are some striking predictions in this episode that speak to today's events, but these predictions don't come from the nuclear war part. There are some other parallels that the creators allude to in this short episode that speak volumes to the current state of things in 2022. The most notable one is in the cold open, where there's a dig at censorship with a Fox executive appearing on screen laughing maniacally at the prospect of censoring the hell out of the coming episode. This is the most accurate prediction in this whole episode and something that could be interpreted as a form of doomsaying by the writers. Of course, nuclear bombs seem more threatening than censorship, but there still hasn't been a nuclear attack. And there has absolutely been an increase in censorship over the years. These days, there seems to be an increase in popularity of a Machiavellian outlook on life, which causes people to mistrust one another and the systems in which we live. People seem to expect the worst out of others in the fear that any person among us could secretly hold dangerous beliefs. And it's not an unfounded suspicion. Over the last 10 or 15 years, the right-wing political alignment started to increase in severity to the point where a new group was named, the alt-right community. This group did and continues to adopt a real school of thought, and the scariest part about it is that it appears as though any one of us could hold these beliefs somewhere below the surface, or behind the guise of an anonymous online username. So back when this group was first being named, there was a justifiable cause for alarm. However, with such a complex and threatening issue like the alt-right movement, it has proven extremely difficult for people to decide on the best ways to combat it. What seems to be the best method has been to adopt this Machiavellian attitude and to be prepared to trust no one and hold everyone accountable. This method has had its huge benefits, arguably doing a great job at unveiling hateful groups and preserving love and inclusivity as a cornerstone of our society. However, it appears as though the downside to this has been that large groups and even companies have also adopted this fear. And maybe most importantly, a fear that they may not be doing their part to keep these troublesome, problematic voices down. In the case of broadcasting and media companies, advertisers have become very quick to migrate away from content they deem damaging to their brands. So for these companies, this moral dilemma of trying to suppress these evil ideas has also become compounded with capital interests. And it seems as though the result has been an overcorrection in the form of excessive and unnecessary censorship on certain words or topics of discussion. While on the surface, it's hard to discount the benefit of suppressing dangerous language and discussion from the internet, there is a major mistake being made here. Freedom of speech is meant to allow those who choose to speak their minds to do so, regardless of their political or moral alignment. The idea is that the bad people will naturally be phased out and held accountable by the greater good of society, without needing to be silenced preemptively. And this isn't a new method. It's been tested and proven effective in human societies over a trial period of thousands of years. But the difficulty is that this system requires a lot of trust that it will run its course effectively. And coming back to the Machiavellian, untrusting attitude of the masses these days, that trust just isn't there. So companies and individuals seem to be taking the burden on themselves of quieting problematic people and voices, and the result seems to be an unhealthy level of censorship. Now back to The Simpsons, because that's what this video is about, right? This is a very clear and calculated point being made in the cold open of this episode, which speaks to a danger that may be going under the radar more than any nuclear warhead in 2022. And as for the part of the episode about nuclear war, there are some similarities there, but the comparisons to today aren't quite as stark as the censorship message. Firstly, we see Mayor Quimby refusing to apologize after making a racist remark about French people, followed by an enraged French president firing a neutron bomb at Springfield. The remark being something about frogs' legs is obviously hyperbolically ridiculous, but it does make the point that international conflicts are often caused by the human fears and insecurities of a small group of individuals, if not one individual alone. And that is something we're seeing with Putin threatening nuclear warfare. The insecurity that Ukraine's decision to adopt a democratic system was going to leave Russia in the past, and the fear that once he'd already started the war, Putin would need to defend himself with nuclear armament preemptively before NATO could make an offensive attack. So it always appears to be all about the person and their personal human emotions, which is the point being made in The Simpsons with the frog's legs remark. And this is why dictatorships are so dangerous, because we are currently seeing millions of people's lives changing due to one man's decisions. whereas a democracy is designed to have every decision be the result of a collaborative effort, avoiding this possibility almost always quite effectively. So yes, the French president and a stubborn Springfield mayor starting a nuclear war over a petty argument is pretty accurate. But is there a nuclear war happening? No. So it's not really a prediction and more of an astute reflection of reality and the nature of war. But it is important to note that although it's scary for obvious reasons to envision this Simpsons episode actually predicting a modern reality, it just isn't. There's no nuclear war right now, but there is a war happening in Ukraine. So as hard as it is to stay positive, it's important to focus on what really is happening and try to ignore what might be tomorrow. Which leads me to one more pretty astute point made in this episode, which I'll end on. Right before the bomb hits, we see comic book guy having an internal debate over whether or not Aquaman should be getting married to a woman without gills. And as he notices the bomb about to hit, he mutters, "Oh, I've wasted my life." The point of this joke seems to be that this debate he's having is not real and is distracting him from true reality, let alone the stretch of sidewalk ahead of him. This message rings quite true and may even be predicting this moment of me writing this script and you watching this video right now. I'm not saying I know a nuclear war will not happen, but I am saying that I know it's not happening today. So in case it does, there is some free advice encoded in this Simpsons episode to take things as they come and live in the present. They're reminding us to, as much as we can, try and focus on what really is happening, and in doing so we may all be able to find a way to get out of this mess without the Simpsons having predicted yet another tragic world event.